Paul Goldschmidt on fire. By the way, Cardinals disappeared for about 4 years. Cardinals, nice to have you back. It's nice to have you back. All right, you ever go to NFL.com and read their draft profiles? I do all day. The guy that writes them is my guest via the Coward Global Satellite Network. Lance Zierlein, NFL draft analyst, NFL.com, one of the smartest guys doing this. Dad used to coach. By the way, Chris Ballard, my favorite young GM in the NFL, was in your wedding, one of your closest friends. So I know you're smart because Ballard's a great guy and only hangs out with smart people. So let me start with this. Josh Rosen, I think he went to the East Coast version of the Cardinals, a fourth-place team with a rookie defensive head coach with offensive line issues. I feel bad for Josh Rosen. Is it possible he's just starting over again with the same situation in Miami?
Well, I don't think it's an optimal situation, as you just mentioned, and I think it's possible he's in a similar situation. Let's face it, a lot of people around the league kind of thought the Dolphins were doing everything they could to, let's just say, make it more difficult to win in the NFL, right? They were trying to make it more difficult to win for Tua. And that's the common name that's thrown out there. But the fact is now they've added Josh Rosen, and I don't know if that changes the strategy in Miami. I can tell you this. The situation is going to be equally difficult for Rosen. I think he's got a decent situation with wide receivers, but the running game hasn't really gotten it going. You've got an offensive line that really needs a lot of help.
Yep.
And so I'm kind of with you. I think that's a really difficult spot for him over there with the Dolphins. And I don't even know that he beats out Ryan Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick is the guy that won't go away in NFL circles. He just continues to make it harder on quarterbacks. He did it for a little while with Jameis Winston last year.
The Raiders I think the Raiders overdrafted a little and have overpaid for a left tackle. But I do think they brought in 9 guys since the season ended, free agents or picks, that can play. So I think they'll be better. What did you make of their draft?
You know, as soon as Cleveland Farrell was drafted, I said, what? I had this guy in the 20s. I think you probably could have gotten Cleveland Farrell in the late teens, somewhere to mid-20s, maybe even with that 24th pick. However, once I saw the rest of the draft and I saw Josh Jacobs go at 24 there, and I saw Jonathan Abram at 27, and then I watched the second round of who in the third round, and I saw the rest of Mike Mayock's draft, it started to really make a lot more sense to me because clearly what Mike Mayock was trying to do was draft for culture. You drafted 3 players from Clemson, winners. You drafted Josh Jacobs, who had been at Alabama, winner. You know, Jonathan Abram, who is the most game-ready safety and one of the most game-ready players in this draft. That guy's a winner. So what Mike Mayock basically did, and John Gruden, is they said the only way to change culture is to go get guys who know how to win and who expect to win. And I think that's what he did. And so I really ended up liking the totality of the draft. Cleveland Farrell 4, I thought was too high. But when you look at the draft in total, I think he did a good job of drafting to change culture, Colin. And I think that's very important when you have an organization that's been as stagnant as the Raiders.
By the way, I said this, Mike Tomlin's the best guy I've ever seen in the NFL at the podium. He could be wrong, but he sounds right because he speaks with such alpha and conviction. Dave Gettleman could be right and sounds wrong. Is it possible he's a genius on Daniel Jones? He just is lousy in front of a microphone and seems kind of flustered and lost. What did you make of that pick?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thick Boston accent gives it a little different wrinkle. We're not used to hearing him say, brother, and all of the thick Boston thing. But look, I had Daniel Jones as the 4th best quarterback. I had him as a 2nd round grade when I put it out there. I don't see a lot of pizzazz, a lot of that leadership quality that you like to see, at least not from a tangible standpoint. But sometimes that can be a little bit overrated. I didn't really see it at the Senior Bowl. I think the arm talent is kind of average, to be honest with you. But I think what they did, though, Colin, is they've fallen in love with Eli 2.0, or at least who they think or they hope can be Eli 2.0. From the lack of juice, as I call it, on the field when he's out there, and that charisma, to the quiet demeanor, to David Cutcliffe being the mentor, even the Manning Passing Academy. It feels like they're drafting Eli, or they're hoping to get Eli again. But I just think the odds are that this is not going to be another Eli. And you're going to have to surround him with playmakers. And your best playmaker is now no longer on the team, and Odell Beckham. So I think what you need to do now, I think he's more of a snap taker than a playmaker. The guy at number 1 is a playmaker. The guy at number 6 is a snap taker, so you better surround him with more playmakers than you have right now.
Neither one of us love the Jets draft. Let's go to Arizona, though. When you have the number 1 pick, you should have the best draft because you get the number 1 pick in the second round. So you should get 2 dynamic players. What do you make of Kyler Murray? Would you have taken him number 1?
Yeah, I would take Kyler Murray. The rest of the draft, I think, is okay. I think Akeem Butler has a pretty good chance in the 4th to be pretty good. But, to be honest with you, I thought the rest of the draft, or especially when you focus on Kyler Murray, I should say, I really like that specifically for Cliff Kingsbury and what the Cardinals are trying to do. Let's remember this. Josh Rosen got pulverized last year because the offensive line wasn't good. Now, he's not – now, Kyler Murray, all the highlights we see, one of the things he can do is extend plays, but let's not get it twisted. He had the Joe Moore award-winning, the best offensive line in football. Oklahoma, 4 of those guys got drafted in the first 4 rounds. It's not going to look like that for him at Arizona, but he can uniquely protect himself with his feet. That's a unique quality he has, Colin, that Josh Rosen doesn't have and most guys don't have. So I think that's a big advantage right now. And then having Cliff Kingsbury handpick wide receivers to put around Kyler Murray, I think is very, very interesting and very, very important. So I think Kyler Murray was the right pick for them. Now, had he not gone number 1, I think his fall would have been a little further than people anticipate because I didn't hear a lot of teams really pining for Kyler Murray. So it might have been a surprise team that would have come up and grabbed him.
All right, he's on 97.5, The Bench in Houston, NFL draft analyst, NFL.com. Yes, he's in Houston. They're all arguing about Scott Foster. Only a minute left. In Houston this morning, does the city feel like they're being robbed by Scott Foster and the NBA in general?
I think the city is upset about the officiating. I think it's too much crying going on personally. I mean, go play, go make a basket, go execute in the last 3 minutes. I do think that Scott Foster, though, with his relationship with the Rockets, I think it's a little scary. He's a guy that the Rockets players, Chris Paul and James Harden, went out of their way to make comments about how bad he was and how arrogant he was there in February. And he hasn't reffed the game since then of the Rockets, except now. So now you basically got the Night King coming in, just getting ready to, it's like this impending doom in Houston that there's overwhelming odds that they won't be able to defeat unless Chris Paul can jump on top of him with some dragon glass. I'm not sure what's going to happen tonight, but I do know this though, Colin. I don't think Houston's overmatched by Golden State. I didn't think so last year. I don't think so this year. I know you're a big basketball guy. In years past, I would have said yes. I think they're uniquely suited to beat the Warriors. They need to stop all the crying with the refs and just go play ball.
Good stuff. Lance Zierlein, NFL.com. He's the guy that writes those profiles that I rely on. Lance, great hearing from you again.
All right. And by the way, I was with you on the Dwayne Haskins at number 6. That's where I would have gone.
There you go. See? Smart minds. He likes Ballard. I like Ballard, the whole thing. Good stuff. Thank you, Lance. By the way, a Game of Thrones reference. Unlike the Game of Thrones, Billions on Showtime gets better every episode and every year. Game of Thrones, a lot of complaining about it.
It just means that people are more invested.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm invested in. Billions on Showtime. Last night I watched like season 4. I'm like, this thing's getting better. It's getting kookier. Oh, there's all sorts of stuff. You guys have your sorcerers. I just have finance and Wall Street. But
and the Night King.
And the Night King. Stop making fun of me. Hour 3 next.
Guys, we all get to a stage in our life where we've earned ourselves an upgrade. Age sets in. He's not as hot as he used to be. Should have been sent to the curb a long time ago. Which is why I upgraded.
Here we go.
To a Napoleon grill.
Maybe I deserve the upgrade. Good one, Mom. Yeah. Really, really funny. I thought it was funny.
When the fire goes out in your grilling relationship,